things. First of all, I am sick. It's not that bad, but it does affect my ability to talk. And I have this lovely glass of tea, mug of tea, because I'm a big cookie fan, and some members of my family got this for me, so I feel very holiday-rific. Also, I'd like to say thank you, Sean. Thank you for that. But congratulations, Brad. I saw before the stream started that your daughter has arrived. Her name is not Amelia Perez. She was delivered during the Critics' Choice live stream. I mean the Golden Globes live stream that we did on Monday. But her name is Amelia. That's a wonderful name. Amelia Earhart, of course. That's really beautiful. Congratulations to your expanded family. All right. Thanks, fellow Aussian. All right. It's so nice to see everybody. Thank you, Danny. As I said, thank you, Sean. Hey, welcome back, Rob. So, my goodness, what a lineup of stories. We have so many good stories today. How could I miss this stream? All right, so let's get started. Of course, thank you, Vitor. I feel very festive. So, yeah, the holidays, they are approaching. All right, so I'm sorry you're sick too, Marky Mark. Feel better? All right, so we have 3 intense stories to go through. There's something for everyone. You can ask your questions at the end of each section about that particular story and make your comments. I'll be keeping an eye on the chat at all times. And then, of course, as always, at the end, there's a Q&A where you can ask me anything that you would like. All right, so save those off-topic questions and comments for that section, please. Don't, do a super chat and then be like, why did you ignore my super chat? And I'm like, but it has nothing to do with what we're talking about. Hey, Matt Stone. But don't make me feel guilty, please. Don't make me do it. Don't make me feel guilty. All right, Danny, that's right. If you could subscribe, and, share? I've never heard anybody request that. But, I always appreciate a like and a subscribe. It costs you nothing but a click. So that would be I would very much appreciate that. Thank you, Sean. Look at all the generosity. No Scrooges here. All right, I love you guys too, CM. All right, so no thumb holes today. All right, that's right, yeah. I'm sick. I'm a sticky kids. Sick. All right. Look at Shankar Roy getting a membership. I love it. All right. All right, so let's get started. Story number 1. Hold on, I got so many pictures uploaded, it's ridiculous. Boop! And then chapter times. Look at all those chapter times. Oh my God. Oh, we have so much to discuss. All right. So the Clayface movie has been greenlit. What does greenlit mean? Well, for those of you who don't know, greenlit means that they're actually moving ahead with the film. Because, this is not a new headline that Mike Flanagan's going to work on a Clayface movie. James Mangold is working on a Swamp Thing movie. But those movies are in development. They're kicking around ideas, they're kicking the tires, they're in their brainstorming sessions, and they're trying to figure out if the project will work. The fact that this has been greenlit means that James Gunn and company have decided that it will work. They're happy with what they've come up with, and they're going to start moving forward. That means right now they're looking for a director, because Mike Flanagan is only going to write. We're going to talk about all the aspects here. But because it's been greenlit, that means you're going to start seeing a director be hired, casting. It's going to start to move forward aggressively. All right, now Clayface. Don't get ahead of me, man. I got my chapter times here for a reason. Okay, so Clayface. Clayface has been getting an unusual lot of love lately. So if you're not familiar with the character, what do you live under a rock? It might be Clayface. That rock might be Clayface. All right, so Clayface, of course, started off got a lot of attention in Batman the Animated Series. Wonderful, great animated series overall. Created many of the comic book fans that exist today. That's one of the cool evidences of his powers. He's not only like a Mystique, hey Nate Griffin, and can look like other people, but he can melt. He can put you, he can grab you. He can create weapons with his clay. He's malleable. He's a giant living piece of clay. All right. Where's my arrow? Then, most recently, he's been in the Harley Quinn animated series. This is my nemesis. I hate this version of the character so much. I just can't stand it. I think, I think that Bane on Harley Quinn is hilarious. I think the Clayface on Harley Quinn, really, I can't stand it. I'm this close to fast forwarding his scenes. I really can't stand it. All right. But then, one of the reasons I really like Clayface right now in particular is that if you watched Batman the Caped Crusader from Matt Reeves and J.J. Abrams, the Clayface episode was my favorite. I thought it was really, really good. I thought it was very atmospheric. I loved it. I loved it so much. I thought it was really cool. Absolutely adored it. And then he's even getting some love on the upcoming, current running Creature Commandos. There's a little bit of a spoiler. You don't know who he is. He could be anybody. That's what it is with Clayface. So, there he is fighting with Rick Flag Sr. And so you can see he's created a whip out of his arm. He also has a hammer. There's a whole lot of stuff that he can do. All right? So that's where kind of just to give you some idea for Clayface. CM, these are not all voiced by Alan Tudyk. Only this one and the Creature Commandos one. But they're not the same. They're different Clayfaces. All right, so now, of course, doing a movie with just Clayface calls to mind the Sony Spider-Man-less movies. Like, even if you liked some of these, and I liked the first Venom and I liked Kraven, I think the audience has made it pretty clear that they're not interested in solo villain stories. I gotta tell you, even though The Penguin is getting tons of nominations, and it deserves it, great show, ain't nobody watched that thing. I mean, they watched it to some degree, but not enough to support, The Penguin was a movie, it would have been a horrible flop, So, I think, the Joker did make $1 billion choose the bear, but I think the difference is the Joker really had something to say. Also, he's the Joker. Clayface ain't the Joker, man. I feel like I'm a villain agent. Clayface, baby, you ain't the Joker. The Clayface is like, why aren't I booking gigs like the Joker? And I'm like, because you're not the Joker, man. What do you want from me? This isn't Joker. This isn't Harley. Only some villains can kind of level up in that way. And I got to tell you, Clayface ain't that guy. I don't care what they do to him. So these things have not done particularly well. All right? So that's really, I think, a very clear strike against, spinning out villains into their own stories. The good thing about the Penguin, though, and I agree with everybody, that's one of my favorite things about the Penguin, is that he remained a villain. Over here, they're all getting turned into anti-heroes. But here, he is the bastard. And it was great. It was glorious. So I liked that quite a bit. Now, here's what makes this situation even more frustrating, okay? So I asked my source, I was like, what do you got for me when I heard this news yesterday? And they shocked me when they said, it's Reeves-Verse. I was like, oh, what? It's Reeves-Verse? Oh, but that opens up a whole slew of questions. I think, on the one hand, it's a realistic take, I heard. What's a realistic take on Clayface? Doesn't his face smush up to look like other people? So I don't understand how you could do a realistic take. That's the problem with the Reeves-Verse. How do you do Clayface? How do you do Poison Ivy? I'm curious to see how he even does Mr. Freeze. Can you make a freeze gun realistically? It's a pretty funny idea, but you know what? I think that the Reeves-Verse would benefit from going a little bit less realistic. I like the take, but it doesn't have to be that realistic. I'd be like, you know what's more fun, Matt Reeves? Success. All right? So it's the frickin' Reeves-Verse. It's a realistic take on Clayface in the Reeves-Verse. That makes me very excited. So a couple of questions could spin out of this. The first, most obvious one is, well, what's happening with Gunn's Batman? Remember, he was going to make Brave and the Bold with Damian Wayne showing up, my favorite Robin as well. James Gunn We don't always get along, but we're brought together by our love for Damian Wayne. And also, I do tip my hat to James Gunn for some of these packages that he's putting together. I'm very impressed with this so far. It seems pretty good. And I'm also very excited about Lanterns, as many of you know. And you know what? Superman might be good. I'm a little nervous about it, but you never know. So, yeah, I agree with Wanda's attorney. I think Gunn is going to just bide his time until he can wear Matt Reeves down and get Pattinson. I think, Andy Muschietti crashed and burned with The Flash. We haven't heard a peep about Brave and the Bold since then. And, the Penguin just solidified and further cemented the strength of the Reeves-Verse. People like this. People like it. David Corenswet matches with Robert Pattinson. When we were talking about casting a Superman for the Reeves-Verse, we picked David Corenswet. So it's ridiculous to have two different characters. It's just stupid. I think that James Gunn is just going to take Matt Reeves to a whole bunch of lunches and be like, hey, buddy, old pal, can I film you doing inappropriate stuff and post it on Twitter? Because that's what friends do, man. But anyway, I don't care what he has to do to make Matt Reeves agree to this. All right. So I think it's a good idea. Dancing Dog says, again, this is silly without Batman. Yeah, I don't really think that you could make a Batman movie, a Clayface movie without Batman. But that leads to me, so I think you'll never see a Gunn-verse Batman. I think he's going to, put those, things together, okay? I want to, I think Choose the Bear pointed out, I just want to make one little comment. I know that some of you are saying that Maria Bakalova posted that herself, and she did. But I think that there is the dynamic of power, the power structure, as some people brought up. But the reason that it's really wrong is that imagine if there was like a live action scene like that. And they were filming, and the director was like, this is hilarious, and took out his own personal cell phone and filmed the sequence from behind the scenes for himself to have. That's really weird. All right. I don't want to be clear. I'm not saying James Gunn should be canceled. I just think it's like, dude. Choose the Bear. Zack Snyder posted an image of Batman doing something naughty to Catwoman. He sure did, and I thought that was equally wrong. I will be fair about it. I thought that was equally really poor judgment on both their parts. And I do feel that there is a similar overlap in James Gunn and Zack Snyder, who, by the way, both got their start with that zombie movie, Dawn of the Dead. That's right. James Gunn, I think, worked on the script. But yeah, I'll be fair. Zack Snyder doing that was wildly inappropriate. Okay? It was really wrong, But whatever. But we all move on. I think you're like, dude, and then you move on. All right. So anyway. It's nothing wrong with the scene. And I want to make it clear also that I never had any complaints about the scenes in Creature Commandos. I have no problem with that. It's the behind the scenes, which is supposed to be a safe space, particularly for scenes like that, where I think there's some issue. And I think that even if James Gunn and Maria Bakalova are okay with it, it creates a really bad and dangerous precedent for other actors and directors, particularly other actresses. And it wasn't lost on me that it was focusing on Maria and not Frank Grillo. All right. All right, so I know why he did it, but I thought it was not correct. All right, so let's move on. All right. Movie versus show. All right. This is the question. Why is this a movie? Why is this a movie? It makes absolutely no sense that this is a movie. I just want to say on the side note, that's another reason that I have a problem with those kinds of posts. Because it totally detracts from what we're supposed to be talking about, and that's the work and the characters. And by the way, I'd like to point out that for the most part, these are supposed to be all ages spaces. All right? I think the DC content skews a little older, but I think that you still, I think to some degree, kids do see these things. So, I mean, like, look how that just derailed our conversation. And it's not fun. Nobody wants to do it. And, let's just focus on the characters and the work. All right. So why is this a show? I mean, why is this a movie and not a show? It seems so clear to me that this should be the next iteration of The Penguin. When I reviewed The Penguin, I said they should do a different series. It should be an anthology series. Sean, you might say the difference is money, but I think that this would be better received as a series. There are rumors that Clayface might show up in the Batman 2. I haven't heard anything about that. I hope they don't make the movie too crowded. How would Clayface work with Mr. Freeze? I think you can have 8 hours of Clayface, Niall. I mean, if someone said to you, I'm going to do 8 hours of the Penguin, you would have laughed as well. I mean, either they know what they're doing or they don't. I think a Clayface series that's horror-based, like Mike Flanagan's other work, let's get his shows up here. Look at that body of work. I mean, he's fallen off a bit. I think that House of Usher and Midnight Club were not nearly as good as the Haunting series and Midnight Mass. But I think Mike Flanagan clearly does a better job in this space. Because, the Penguin ratings were not great, to be fair. But I think that also behooves that the movie would probably you can kind of hide the ratings. And I think that the Penguin is saved by all of the awards nominations that it's getting. So that's what people are going to point to. And that's how the game works. You either get viewership and box office or you get awards. So also I want to point out that even though Mike Flanagan isn't directing, man, his box office is awful. All right, let's take a look at Mike Flanagan's box office. Oh my God, it's so horrible. This guy just can't do movies. Ouija got to 81 million, only 35 total domestic. Oculus, 27.6, that's his first movie. Then look what a flop Dr. Sleep was. I hated Dr. Sleep. I know some of you swear by that movie, but you're a small group. Because Dr. Sleep only got to 71.7 worldwide. Worldwide! Mike Flanagan does not understand the movie space. But he does understand the show space. So to me, this is screaming Penguin follow-up. It's in the Reeves-Verse. It's Mike Flanagan. It's a smaller villain. It fits after. I think it's a great follow-up to the Penguin. I think it's a great idea. But as a movie, I'm less sure. So yes, Mike Flanagan is only writing it. Mike Flanagan, the reason he's only writing it is because he's doing The Exorcist. There you go. The Exorcist, David Gordon Green or whatever, who did the Halloween remake of Michael Myers. He flushed that down the toilet eventually, and then he did another Exorcist, and he flushed that one down the toilet as well. That's right, Liam. The character, the Penguin's girlfriend, Eve, is named Carlo. So it even can cross over. That's right. I bet you that is what they do anyway, even for the movie, because it is all the same universe. Oh, would they race bend Clayface then? That would be very interesting. And also what it would look like for him if he, they never talked about the fact that if a character would morph into different ethnicities and how that would maybe change their situation. That could be very interesting social commentary. That's fascinating to me. That reminds me a little bit of The Watchmen. The way they redid that series. If it is the Reeves-Verse, the character, unless they just totally ignore the Carlo last name, they probably will race bend the character. That's very interesting. What a role. I wonder who's going to get it. That's very interesting. But I think that could be fascinating. I got to tell you, I think it's wrong to make it a movie. And I think a realistic take is difficult. What is he, just a master of disguise? That's stupid. But anyway, I think this is great. I think this is a very promising package. And hats off to James Gunn for, I think, putting together his second killer package. I don't know if I feel good enough about Supergirl just yet. I don't love the casting on Supergirl, to be honest with you. And I feel that it's going to be another girl power movie and it's going to run into a lot of unnecessary problems. But I do feel that Rob Wall, it's funny that you say Hugh Grant and Paddington Paddington 2. If Clayface was older, Hugh Grant, and they didn't go with the Eve Carlo situation, I gotta tell you, maybe she could be his sister. I gotta tell you, Hugh Grant would make a great Clayface. Wow, I love that idea. I'm on the phone. I'm okay. I'll make Eve Carlo his sister, and I will put. I want Hugh Grant. I just shot to the top of my list as who I would like to play the role. He would be phenomenal. If you've seen Heretic, which again, as I told you, feels like a really awful first date, that would be incredible. I just think that's amazing. No, not Mr. Freeze, Lisa. I think Jeremy Strong should be Mr. Freeze. All right, so yes, kudos to James Gunn. I think Lanterns is great, a great package, and I think this is a great package. I feel very strong about this. Thank you, Rob Wall. All right, so let me go take a look at some of your super chats. Now we're going to do questions and comments about this. Nathan says, hey Grace, Clayface is a great DC character, but is he big enough villain to write a wide enough audience to make the show successful? I don't know. Penguin didn't do very well, but it got a lot of awards. So the quality is there. And I gotta tell you, if they do a really strong horror take on it, this could do well, especially with Mike Flanagan's name attached. I don't know about it. I think a movie's a big mistake. I just can't tell you what a mistake I think is to do this as a movie rather than a series. I hope they prove me wrong, because I want DC to succeed, but I feel very bad. I really don't like that. David Kyle says, since we're making irrational decisions over DC, you want a Poison Ivy movie? No, we can't give everybody their own movie. This is ridiculous. I like the idea of giving everybody an anthology series on Max. I don't think they should be on HBO, to be honest with you. I think it's really hurting HBO. HBO's like, they lost their Sunday to the IPs. Sean says, so are you saying that the Gunverse and the Reeves-Verse are to merge? Because you want Pattinson to stay as Bats. This is just a theory that I have right now. I haven't heard anything about it, just to be clear. But I think the fact that none of us have heard anything about James Gunn's other Batman movie moving forward, and that he and Matt Reeves seem so close. I mean, he's really doing a lot to build up Matt Reeves' cinematic universe. They seem to be getting along great, which is great for us, because we all want this. All right, now you like a poll. Poll. Do you want the Gunverse and the Reeves-Verse to merge? Yes. No. Thank you, Blix. Oh, your generosity. Oh, Blix, really. So, thank you so much. I think those are the only two options. Okay. By the way, anyone watching can vote in a poll. Hey, Jonathan. All right. Adam Sphere says if they're that committed, just put him in Batman 2. No, I like the idea of following up on the Penguin with another series. Maybe if they did enough of them, they would start to get a little bit better viewership. Elise says James Gunn is doing a pretty good job so far. I'm glad you feel that way. I continue to feel that Creature Commandos wasn't a great start, but I think it's a soft start. I think Superman will truly be the start of the cinematic universe. Ross McCartan, that's an interesting question. Why isn't the cinematographer for Dune on Supergirl? I think comic book movies are in a tough place right now, and I think you're starting to see more and more people not wanting to work on them. So I think that we'll talk about that with Austin Butler. But I think there's a very good chance that you could go to the cinematographer for Dune and say, do you want to work on Supergirl? And he might say no. He's like, I'm doing whatever Denis doing next. Or he wants to work with another great director. I think it's tough. Tyler says people are miffed that they're doing Clayface before Wonder Woman or even Green Arrow. I do think that James Gunn is a little bit too enamored with deep cuts. I appreciate this stuff. I mean, look, I enjoyed Craven because I was like the comic book fan in me kicked in. My spoiler review will go up later today, and there's like so much to discuss about that movie. But I don't know if it's the best business strategy. I mean, he swears that it is. James Gunn apparently tweeted someone sent me this tweet that he feels that Swamp Thing is so well known, you don't even have to do an origin story for the guy. And I'm like, dude, I would say that almost nobody who isn't a comic book fan knows anything about Swamp Thing. I mean, I think that is a huge assumption. Like Spider-Man, yes. Everybody and their grandma knows how Spider-Man came about. And Batman at this point. You don't need to redo those stories. Superman, I agree. You don't need origin stories for those characters. But I think Swamp Thing, these deep cuts are tough. Psycho, I would like a Gotham City Sirens movie as well, but I worry that James Gunn would want to do it himself, and I don't think he's the right choice for that material. J. Jonah Jameson says, where's the Nightwing movie? You know, I got to tell you, you know who I think? I think Nightwing, because you would need a male character in Gotham City Sirens. I think Nightwing should be in Gotham City Sirens. Let's see here. David says they need to do body horror Clayface, especially after the success of The Substance. The Substance isn't successful enough for a comic book show, for a comic book movie? What was The Substance box office? Hold on. I mean, I'm very happy for The Substance and what it's doing for horror, but let's not get carried away. The Substance made $56 million worldwide, only $16.4 million in the United States. I think body horror is a tough sell. I mean, it's the reason I haven't watched the movie yet. All right. Hold on, I'm going back. Hey, Jonathan. Okay. All right, Rashad says they could get different actors or actresses to do cameos that Clayface can morph into. Oh, yeah, that's fun, but I don't know. I mean, how much money do they want this to cost? You got to pay people to show up. Gerardo says, to sell the show, I'd say it's Mystique on steroids. I like the idea of a male Mystique. That was one of the things I liked about the Chameleon in the Craven movie, although he's used very sparingly there. Connor says, see reception of Clayface and Batman 2 first before doing a movie. You know, because that's what they did with the Penguin, a soft launch. That's a very good idea, Connor. Way to put your business hat on. And then Riley says, Clayface before Ivy is criminal. I think Poison Ivy is a difficult character to do, and also right now, she's just so heavily tied with Harley Quinn. And then Yaya says they should merge after the Batman 3. They should. Okay. All right, let's see here. Let me end the poll. Miss Kuba, that has nothing to do with what you're talking about. But I'm glad Ariana Grande wants to focus on. She mentioned focused on acting for the foreseeable future. Do you think she'll transition to prestige roles? I think she's going to do things that are a good fit for her. All right, so do you want the Gunverse and the Reeves-Verse to merge? This is fascinating. You're so divided. Only 56% of you vote yes, while 43% of you vote no. You must be doing it because you want to protect the Reeves-Verse. That's interesting. That's how CM feels. That's not a great thing for James Gunn. I think they need to merge. I think it's too confusing to not have them merge. I'll tell you that. All right. Kevin, did I not see your super chat? Let me go back and look for it. Let me see if it's still there. Yeah. I like the Matt Reeves side, but I find James Gunn stuff a little too vulgar or niche as a casual DC fan. Well, that's my issue as well. I've long said that I think that James Gunn is a little bit niche in his appeal when he's not held back, as he was clearly by Kevin Feige. Superman is a real test for his sensibilities, where no one's overseeing him. So we'll see how he does. You know, he certainly picked the right source material. Although I have to tell you, I think that All-Star Superman is the worst choice that you could pick to adapt for the mainstream audience. All-Star Superman is very highly regarded, an extremely highly regarded comic for sure, but I think it's just too complex for casuals. I think that I would not have based anything on that, to be honest with you, and that makes me nervous. Okay. I think James Gunn is making stuff, as I've said many times before, for people at the back of the comic book store. And that's fine, but that's a small audience. And I think that's probably who he interacts most with online and who he is personally. But I think Kevin Feige understands the casual fan. And also, I think Kevin Feige, that's an interesting distinction. I think Kevin Feige wants to bring the love of comic book stories to the general public. Whereas I think James Gunn wants to represent what comic book stories are to comic book fans. One is outward, like an expansion, and one is pulling back in to the core. So that's really interesting. Henry says Matt Reeves has a very grounded Batman. That likely would not work in a universe with aliens, magic, and speedsters. Too bad. It has to work. I also don't want a really grounded Batman. I don't want a Batman that can't have Mr. Freeze or Poison Ivy. You know, it's too grounded. Okay. That's right, CM. Comic books are niche. The sales on comic books are so low when you compare it to video game sales, movie ticket sales, television streaming viewership. Comic books are a niche fandom. And people, I think, need to realize that. Although I think it's sad that they've lost control of their own industry because Hollywood has realized how much money is in them. We should move on to the next topic. Okay. Good point, Kay Walton. All right. Where's my arrow? All right. Story number 2. Boop. All right, here's our chapter times. Woohoo, we got so much to discuss here too. All right, so you've heard about the live action Tangled already as well. But the reason, well, fans have really wanted this. You know, fans talk about it all the time. For a long time, people wanted Florence Pugh to play the role. But I think she's aged out of it, and I also think she probably wouldn't be interested at this point because I think she's focused on more. And she's already Yelena Belova. She doesn't need this. And because of that, she might also be too expensive. Jonathan Bailey, I'm sorry, Jesse, I also think he's too old. All right, so anyway, the reason this is in the news is that they've hired a director. That guy right there he is. Mr. Michael Gracie, who did The Greatest Showman. And I got to tell you, though, The Greatest Showman wasn't particularly well directed. I mean, it wasn't wicked. I thought that The Greatest Showman, the reason it did so well was because of the incredible songs. And I gotta tell you, I don't think Tangled has the most amazing songs. So maybe they'll write some new songs for it. But Greatest Showman is an incredible soundtrack and great performances. But this is the guy they've hired. But I gotta say, the guy who did, that's right, he did the Robbie Williams bio. That's right, that's out right now. But The Greatest Showman, you know, if you say from the director of The Greatest Showman, a lot of people are gonna be like, I liked that movie. So I think he is a good choice. I think he's a good choice. But of course, what really matters here is the casting. All right, so let's talk about it. Now, of course, there's the OGs. Now, you better believe that Zachary Levi, as soon as this story dropped, was like, oh man, he probably feels he can still play Flynn Rider, which is hilarious. Paul Mescal would actually be a pretty good Flynn Rider, Juan. He's actually not a bad choice. But I'm sure that Zachary Levi was like, because he's so delusional, was like, man, let me be Flynn Rider. And I think he's not going to be in it at all. I agree with all of you. He won't be in this, he will have no association with this project whatsoever, which means he's probably going to badmouth it, but luckily, no one cares what he thinks. All right, so Mandy Moore. I know that a lot of you have been saying Elizabeth Olsen should be the queen. I'm telling you right now, Mandy Moore is the queen. 1,000% Mandy Moore is going to go from being Rapunzel to being Rapunzel's mom. because you got to put her in the movie. Mandy Moore has a lot of fans, particularly after the television show This Is Us, which means, by the way, she is rich for life. You make so much money off of syndication, it's nuts. So anyway, she's going to definitely be the mom. I would put good money on that. But then, here's an interesting question. What about Donna Murphy? So Donna Murphy voiced Mother Gothel. Mother Gothel is a fantastic villain, very much beloved by a lot of fans. So the question is, some people are fan casting Catherine Hahn from Agatha All Along. And I have to say, that's pretty good casting. But I agree also with Rob, you could bring back Donna Murphy. Linzick said that as well. I think recasting the role when Donna Murphy is still very capable of playing it is a tough call. I think that Donna Murphy could do it. I mean, you have to have Donna Murphy somewhere in the movie. But I don't know. It's a really hard call. I'm not sure what they're going to do. She's not a big star, CM, so that might be an issue. But I think, we'll see what they decide to do. If you have big enough stars as the two leads, it might work. Donna Murphy is not a huge villain in the movie. I mean, we'll see how much they change it for the live action. I don't really know if Catherine Hahn's pretty popular. We'll see what they decide to do. But I think also the role is so similar to Agatha, it might dilute the Agatha role. So that would make me a little bit nervous. All right, now let's talk about what some of you I already see some of you saying, oh no, don't do it. But Sabrina Carpenter. So as soon as this news dropped, I know Wanda's attorney, you're very much in favor of this. A lot of people are saying that maybe Sabrina Carpenter would get it because of Ariana Grande's success in Wicked. I have to say, as a producer, I kind of like the idea. I saw a little bit of clips of Sabrina Carpenter in her Christmas special for Netflix. I thought she did a very nice job. A little naughty, but, let's see what you could potentially do. Some of you really dislike the idea, so it's very divisive. So I guess I'd have to take a bit deeper look into the fandom and see, what the reaction would be. Although some people didn't like the idea of Ariana Grande as Glinda, and look how that turned out. That turned out incredible. But I would certainly bring Sabrina Carpenter in for a meeting. I'd talk to her about it. I'd see if she was even interested. I do think that the Ariana Grande Wicked comparison is very strong. So I think it's a nice idea, to be honest with you. Now so we'll see who the casting is. Casting will be key here because it's such a personality-driven movie. Now here's another interesting question. How is this going to translate in live action with the hair? Now, I think it was how it should have ended. When they did a Wicked, Tangled, how it should have ended. They had a really funny gag where when she was running around in the woods, her hair got really dirty because it was full of dirt and sticks and stuff. And I think that was very true. I mean, she was dragging it all over the forest. It would be a mess. So how do you make that not the case? Like in animation, you can kind of forgive it, but realistically, it kind of looks a little crazy, So I think obviously they'll have to do a VFX team. Yeah, that's right, Josh. They could just say, hey, it's magic hair. It's debris resilient. But I think they have to do a VFX test and see if the hair can work and how it can look. Make a practical Atom Sphere. That's hilarious. So we'll see what they decide to do. And then again, as I said, I think the music is not that great on Tangled. I think Tangled's music is only mediocre. Tangled even wasn't that successful, in fact, when it came out. It was the first CGI animated princess movie after The Princess and the Frog, when they transitioned from 2D to CG to computer. It did okay. I think it's gained in fandom over the years, but it's not as big it's not a Moana, it's not a Frozen. I think it's interesting they're doing this before Frozen, but I think they're still doing animated Frozen movies, so maybe that helps. Wanda's Attorney, that's a great point. The animated series has certainly, I'm sure, built the fandom up. That was a very nice animated series. I've only seen clips of it, but I know that it was quite popular. So, but yes, Tangled is not music-driven. Tangled is story, personality-driven. So I think that, Dory, are you talking about media? Oh, let's look up the box office for Tangled. I think it's lower than the first Moana. Yeah, it did 591 worldwide in 2010. 200.8 domestic, 390.9 overseas. You know, that's medium. So, let's see. All right, so anybody have any questions or comments about this story? The House of Ove says the Tangled soundtrack doesn't really have any standouts, but the balance is solid. Well, that's good. And Miss Kuba wants to point out that people said Ariana was too adult for Glinda, but, you know, it turned out amazing. Yeah, I think it's a good idea. I gotta tell you, I think Sabrina Carpenter is a good idea. I would definitely have that meeting. Alex says, what about Fabian Frankel, Kristen Cole? Oh, as Flynn. Too old. You need somebody, they like to go younger for these, I think. Also, I think he's pretty devoid of personality. Sorry, buddy. In my opinion. Dan says, what would you like them to change in the story the second time around? I'm not sure. That's a good question. Marduk says, is being a singer enough to qualify? I don't know. I saw her again. I saw clips of the Christmas special. I think she's a solid enough actress. I thought she was actually pretty good. Nacho says they need a big names for the prince, and she was funny. Sabrina Carpenter was funny, and comedy is crucial to playing this role. Nacho says they need big names for the princesses. Having Hermione as Belle drove a lot of hype for that film. That's right, and people love Sabrina Carpenter. I don't know what to tell you. Lucas says, but she's nasty. She's made bad comments. She is very adult. But I mean, Florence Pugh's done very adult work, you know. I mean, Disney has not, and look, they brought back James Gunn. I think as long as she just keeps that out of that space, she should be okay, maybe. I'm not a big Sabrina Carpenter fan. I'd have to look at the space. And would she be open to playing a PG-13 character? Sabrina Carpenter might want to stay edgy. Zeke says Grace Avantika should play Rapunzel. Oh, yes. Avantika, right? Wasn't she in the Mean Girls musical? She's wonderful. I liked her quite a bit. Let's see here. Too bad that she wasn't the height of her popularity for Aladdin. She would have been an amazing Jasmine. Bella Vista says, this is so full circle because the first video I watched of yours was the Tangled review. I'm glad we've been together so long, Bella. I love it. That's right, Simi. Ariana did survive the donut incident. For those of you who don't remember, Ariana Grande licked a donut at a store and put it back. Nobody remembers that. Nobody talks about that. The general public is very forgiving. The general public just wants to have fun. You got to do something real bad to mess it up. Wanda's attorney says, what about Taylor Perez from Red, White, and Royal Blue as Flynn Rider? I don't like that casting, I'm afraid. Blick says, would you be okay with a Latin actor for Flynn? I'd be open to that, especially with the power of Latino audiences at the box office. Although they apparently don't like being catered to, so it's hard. Let's see here. Your little brother Gabriel says Rapunzel is the most popular Disney princess before Frozen. Maybe. Okay. Kareem says, what about the Ella Purnell from Fallout and Yellow Jackets? She's a very nice choice. I like her a lot. Let's put her on the list. Let's see here. Dory, I don't like McKenna Grace. I think she's okay, but I think she's all wrong for a princess role. Jose says, what about Elle Fanning? Who's already Aurora? I don't know. I don't know what age range they're going for here. Sickety sick. Oh. Dan Blaster says, new songs? I gotta tell you, if I were Disney, I would write new songs for this. I'd be like, give me 2 new songs. It's hopefully better than the ones we got. All right. Thank you, guys. And then Wanda says Maximus is the most important casting. How are they going to do that horse in live action? I didn't even think of that. You know, it's interesting that Oluwatobi says they should not do diversity for this because of the hate train. I've seen a number of comments like that when this was announced. I still feel original characters is the way to go with representation. I think that's proven to be the most successful. Like a live-action Princess and the Frog? Oh, I'd love it! Or a sequel. I would love a live-action Princess and the Frog. That would make me so happy. Obed, Halle Bailey was a great Ariel. I loved her. All right. Okay, Walton, I can't help that some people are awful no matter what. Like, can you imagine? Oh my God, I'm sick. What's his name? Dr. Facilier? Is that the villain? In Princess and the Frog? Friends on the Other Side? Oh. Did I get it right? Yes, okay. I love that character. Nothing makes me happier than seeing him included in villain stuff. Yeah, Sophia, I think they did mess up the ride for Princess and the Frog. You know, it's so annoying to me that Disney tries to do diversity. And I'd say almost without fail, 90% of the time, they end up making things worse. We're like, oh, yes, this is great, thank you. And then they're like, here it is. And you're like, oh, some kind of help is the help that you don't want. All right. Any other questions or comments? I'm glad you liked it, Just Blaze Disney. I have not been on it personally, to be fair, but I've seen images and stuff, and I don't like the way it turned out. Lakeith Stanfield for Dr. Facilier, Dory does voices, is pretty great. That's a great idea. Oh, what a role that would be. Okay, thank you, Adrienne. All right, let's go to the third story of the day. Where is that? All right. Oh, thank you, Olwatabi. All right. Boom, baby. All right, I'm losing steam, man. All right, let's talk about this. So they found their Patrick Bateman. That's the lead role in American Psycho. Zeke, I don't know who Michelle Visage is, I'm afraid. I've never heard of Maitre. I got to work on my, I know what Never Have I Ever is. I guess she's the lead. All right, but we're talking about this now. So I got to tell you, my first reaction was, where's my arrow? I'm just so freaking glad it's not Jacob Elordi. I mean, this is like the second worst choice, but the worst choice would have been Jacob Elordi. I don't understand. Well, we'll talk about that in a moment. So I'm just glad that Jacob Elordi didn't get it. So Austin Butler got it. And I agree with many of you, okay? Why isn't he Johnny Storm? He's the perfect Johnny Storm. It's frustrating that he's not Johnny Storm. But he, of course, was just in Dune Part 2 with Timothée Chalamet. And I think both of these actors might be intentionally avoiding comic book movies. Which I kind of understand. Oh, he'd be a pretty good Gambit, Sophia. That's, I don't know. I think someone a little bit bigger would be a better Gambit. You know, like physically. But anyway, I think he should have been Johnny Storm. But I think he doesn't maybe want to be Johnny Storm. I think maybe Austin Butler wants to be seen as a little bit more of a serious actor. So that's why he's hooking up with Mr. Luca Guadagnino, who, of course, has 2 big movies this year. Challengers, which is good, and Queer, which is not good. Okay? But Luca Guadagnino, I couldn't confirm this. I'm seeing reports that they're going to push American Psycho to be even more intense, and sexier than it was in the original adaptation. And that is very Luca Guadagnino. But I haven't actually seen that. But I think that if Luca Guadagnino is doing that, if he's doing the movie, that it's probably going to be that way. However, one of my big problems, well, here's something else that's interesting. I'm not quite sure how this is going to translate to today. One of the most famous scenes, speaking of putting your business hat on, one of the most famous scenes from the original movie is the business card scene, where they're comparing their business cards, and who has the cooler business card. Jared Leto is actually in this movie, and he's a big part of this scene. You know who else is in this movie? Justin Theroux, back in the day when he was just, getting started. But I don't know if anybody would even care about who has business cards anymore. So I'm not quite sure if this would work. Yeah, you're right. See, I'm comparing LinkedIn. Would they be comparing their social media presences? I mean, it's a really tough situation. So I'm not quite sure how it would adapt. Henry says a lot of people still trade business cards. Really? Mika, that's funny. The Lionsgate AI made this casting choice. That's funny. But here's another big problem that I have. I don't think that Austin Butler is social media friendly enough. For a movie like this to succeed, I need the people on Twitter to go crazy. I need them to go crazy like they're going crazy for this Luigi guy, this assassin Luigi. That's the kind of frenzy I need. And I don't see Austin Butler generating that kind of frenzy. I'm going to be totally honest with you. I just don't see it. I don't see people going nuts online. I just don't think it's going to happen. So that's a big problem that I have with this casting. Then I'm kind of upset that they're going for a Christian Bale lookalike. Like, if you're going to remake the movie, I would want it to have a very different feel. So I feel that, Harris Dickinson would have the same problem, CM. Harris Dickinson from Baby Girl. I feel that Jacob Elordi, Austin Butler, Harris Dickinson, these guys look too much like Christian Bale. I want a different looking white guy so that I feel like it's something very different. So that really also bothers me. If I were Christian Bale, I'd be like, why are you redoing my performance? Like, that just kind of bothers me. I think it's too overlapping. I think it's almost impossible to make it its own thing because the guy, he looks like Christian Bale. All right, then I saw some people online talking about the fact that that Austin Butler already had his breakout. This was Christian Bale's breakout role. It helped him get Batman. And people are saying that Austin Butler already had his breakout role with Elvis, and that he doesn't need this movie, and that they should have kept it as a breakout opportunity for an up-and-coming actor. And I sort of agree with that, and especially because we have 2 fantastic options. I guarantee you, I don't know how much LGBTQ content was in the first movie, but I guarantee you, if Luca Guadagnino is directing this movie, it'll be in the second film. So there's going to be a huge LGBTQ contingent, for sure, in this remake of American Psycho. And I think that both of these actors, Austin Butler doesn't really have a history with that. Maybe he wants to move into that space. It's working very well for Daniel Craig right now. But Cooper Koch is openly gay. I'm not quite sure about Sam Reed. Sam Reed doesn't talk about his sexuality, but he's in 2 projects where he has LGBT, Q scenes. Interview with the Vampire, and also the Newsreader has gone in that direction as well. I believe it's latest season. But let's look at these 2 actors. So Cooper Koch really wanted this. Cooper Koch, by the way, has to work on his serious photos. This was the best serious photo I could find of Cooper Koch. I'd be like, Cooper, you got to work on your smolder. I mean, I love this guy. I love him to death. I couldn't be a bigger fan and supporter of Cooper Koch. And I'm so glad he got nominated, some nominations for his work on Monsters, but he can't smolder. He can smile, he can flirt, he can't smolder. But I think he would have been a great Patrick Bateman. I think he would have been phenomenal. And I feel bad that he missed out on the performance. And he really wanted it. He was campaigning for it. I feel bad. Now, if he couldn't get it, I think Sam Reed's looking for his big breakout role. Sam Reed might be a touch too old for the role. I'm sorry to say. It's rough out there. This is Sam Reed not on Interview with the Vampire, where he has longer hair. This is him on the Newsreader, where he's looking a little more Patrick Bateman-y. And I only saw the vision when somebody tweeted a scene from this show. And I was like, oh, yeah. Not Josh O'Connor. Josh O'Connor, to me, just seems also a little bit too much like Christian Bale. I like going with someone who has a little bit of a softer look. But I gotta tell you, Sam Reed, if you've seen Interview with the Vampire, where's my arrow? Sam Reed is good at doing such disturbed scenes. Like, the stuff they do on Interview with the Vampire is so disturbing and debauched. But yeah, you're still rooting for these two vampires. You're like, wow, that was rough, but they're so charismatic. So, I've actually never seen American Psycho. It came out when I was younger. And I was like, I was like too masochistic for me. I don't want to watch it. But, I'm surprised at the stuff that I witnessed in Interview with the Vampire. But I gotta tell you, I didn't bother me. I'll obviously have to watch American Psycho to judge the remake. But yeah, so I think that both of these guys, I think Sam Reed and Cooper Koch would have been better choices. I think they would have been much better choices than Austin Butler. Austin Butler, I have the same problems with him as I do with Jacob Elordi. It's just lazy. It's just it's like they're just looking for a Christian Bale lookalike, and that really bothers me. So that's my thoughts on it. All right, does anybody have any questions or comments about this story? Oh, look, Zeke read the book and said it's even more disgusting. I bet you Luca Guadagnino's going through it with a red pen. Eli says should have been directed by a woman. Well, I don't really, as bad as many problems I had with Queer, I saw somebody do an edit of Challengers to the What Is This Feeling from Wicked this morning on social media, and I thought it was pretty funny. It reminded me of what a good movie Challengers is. Oh, thank you, Melissa, for clarifying that. Although somebody else said that maybe it's not our business of Sam Reed's sexuality. It's none of our business. But I do think that he obviously has a history with that kind of role, and he is already very much beloved by the community. Dan says, will you change it from businessmen to something more current, like streamers or YouTubers? No, maybe to tech bros. Maybe I make it tech bros. But, tech bros doesn't quite work. The whole point of American Psycho was the clothing, the image. And I don't know if tech bros, although when you look at someone like Elon Musk, who, as J. Jonah Jameson just said, Elon Musk, without the murder, is sort of like a real-life Patrick Bateman. He's very obsessed with image and how he presents himself. And it's a very distinct image, somebody the other day said edgelord, and that's what James Gunn is, and like his fandom. And I think Elon Musk is also an edgelord. And, that's not necessarily a small thing. Edgelords helped tip the election to Trump. So edgelords are a real thing. So Patrick Bateman is edgelord. Is there, like an Andrew Tate kind of guy? I see the vision. I see the vision. Elise, you say it has to stay in the 80s, but I don't know if anybody would care about it then. Danny, I'm still figuring out exactly what an edgelord is. You can Google it. But I think, it's like, Andrew Tate, Elon Musk, that kind of individual. Dane says, edgelords like to shock people for the sake of shocking. I think there's a little more to that, but that's definitely an element to it. Marduk, I don't even know if people are that into hedge funds anymore. You know, for a while, people were really into business after the movie Wall Street and like movies like American Psycho, but that's not kind of like, it's not really at the forefront of people's interest anymore. Area Man, I made it very clear that Elon Musk, is not a murderer. Dancing Dog 60 says Bale played the bad guy in Shaft the same year. I like Christian Bale. Where is Christian Bale? Taking a break. Welcome back, Stanlos. Lisa says it has to be modern. That's what made the first one so successful. It had a finger on the pulse of the era. Couldn't agree more, Lisa. And I continue to love your new haircut, Lisa. Your new lease on life makes me so happy, Lisa. I'm so impressed with how you've been able to pivot. You're an inspiration, I think. Hey, Kevin. All right, I think we're ready for the Q&A. Ask me anything. All right, 10 minutes of Ask Me Anything till 3:14. Hector says, should or can Aaron Taylor Johnson still be Bond after Craven? I needs to see the box office. Is it another Venom? Then he definitely can. If it's not, if it's another Madam Web or Morbius, then ta-ta, James Bond chances. NoFX says, with the exception of Deadpool and Wolverine, it feels like Marvel has lost a chunk of its core fan base. How does Marvel make Doomsday Endgame level successful with the cost of it being? I don't know, man. I think everybody's a little tired in the space. I think people are very contrarian these days. I think a lot of people are just wanting to hate and looking for stuff to fail. It's a tough space to be in. CM says, any insight on screenplay competitions? Like how to make sure it's not a scam, or even if it's worth... Oh, well, CM, look at previous winners and what they've gone on to do. And, do the ones that have legitimate organizations. Don't just go with any old screenwriting competition. It should be the ones run by the WGA and stuff like that. I haven't heard anything about Nova, Jeffrey. Sorry. Bye, Dancing Dog. B. Brown, I'm not doing a secret level review. I'm sorry. Josh says, Craven is set to debut lower than Madam Web. And it's such a damn shame, because it's a good movie. Care Bear, I'm thrilled about the Critics' Choice nominations. As I tweeted, I'm very proud that Wicked and Conclave are leading the noms, because I love both those movies. Thank you, Sean. Danny says, thoughts on Henry Cavill's new Amazon show? I'll be excited when none of these things actually kind of like get to a point where they're actually being made. But, I am happy for Henry Cavill continuing on with his career. Simi says, why don't you watch The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City? I will agree, though, that Beverly Hills is not particularly good this season. Too much yelling and shouting. David Kyle says, Grace, have you seen Maria yet? Isn't the opening scene great? I don't know if I'm going to watch Maria, to be honest with you. The audience score is low. I got too much to do. I don't want to sit through that. I'm not a big Angelina Jolie fan these days. I think it's funny that people are like, oh, thank you, Justin. You got to watch everything. It's very hard to watch everything. I don't think you understand how hard it is to watch everything and also still do your job and live your life. There's so much content, I think you also have to protect your mental health and, and I also have to do my job. Charlie says, hi, Grace, do you think Wicked will help more musicals get greenlit? I really want a Legally Blonde musical movie. I don't know. It's hard. Maybe with Ariana Grande starring in Legally Blonde, it could get made. But Mean Girls was such a flop, and that was I think something that used to not be a musical, turning it into a musical is difficult. Kareem, Henry Cavill would have been a great Patrick Bateman. I don't know if he would have done the LGBTQ stuff. He won't even take his clothes off in The Witcher. Remember that? His poor co-star was all naked and he was standing there in full armor. And you're like, Henry, do you not understand why you're popular? That was crazy. Otis says, what about an open casting call for Rapunzel? That's always a scam. You know, when they say they're going to do an open casting call. They famously did an open casting call for Gone with the Wind. And who did they go with? A famous British actress who was on her way up, Vivian Leigh. Dane, I'm glad you liked Conclave as well. Thank you, Mr. Magic. Jonathan, I'm not watching Dune Prophecy. I tried to watch it. I got screeners. I watched an episode and a half, and I said I can't take it anymore. But I'm glad you're enjoying The Diplomat. Adam Sphere, Daveed Diggs is pretty good for Dr. Facilier, but I think he's done that kind of performance a lot. I'd like to maybe give somebody else an opportunity, although he would be very good at it. Oh, look at all these questions. Hold on. That's right, Lisa. Red 1 drops on Prime Video tonight. I'm pretty excited about it. I don't know if I'm going to have time to watch it, but I really want to watch it. Stanley says, have you checked out the story clips for DC Heroes United? I have not, but I got to tell you, I am in awe of how popular video games are. So many people are playing video games. Just don't let it suck up your life, man. Just watch out for that. Set a timer. You know, I had to do that with Twitter. I often go over the timer, but at least I know that I'm over it. You should really try to, limit how much you play video games a day. Just because I know you can fall down the rabbit hole. I don't read books for that reason. I mean, I'm not saying I'm not susceptible to it. I used to read novels, but then I became horribly antisocial. So I stopped reading long-form content. I just can't handle it. And I remember an interview with Nick Offerman saying he used to play video games until he lost a weekend. You know, The Lost Weekend is a very famous movie about alcohol addiction from a long time ago. It stars, I think, Ray Milland. Graymo says, hi, Grace. What shows are you watching outside of work? I'm watching, Christmas stuff right now. And Real Housewives. I like that. Gold Searcher says, my Tiana's Disney Plus series become a film. You know, might it? I don't know. I think that's a tougher call because Princess and the Frog isn't blowing up on Disney Plus. I think that's more likely that stays a Disney Plus series. I just hope it comes out. I really want to see it. Zeke says American Psycho was set in 1987 and released in 2000, and the remake is apparently set in 1987. Well, yes, but I think, 2000 is still basically the 90s, which was very 80s coded. I don't think people want to go back that far. CM says, who are some actors that you think are overexposed and should take a break, like Margot Robbie did? The Rock, I think he's a little bit of a break. I think Ryan Gosling's taking a little bit of a break now, which is very smart. Joaquin Phoenix should take a break. Lady Gaga. You know, if your movie's hugely successful or a giant flop, you need a little bit of a break. Sims Review says, would American Psycho still have mass appeal in an era of Joker, monsters, etc.? How do you make people care about a rich psycho in 2024? I'll tell you, Sims, you make them super hot. And that's another reason that I don't know if Austin Butler is the right choice. I think Austin Butler is certainly attractive. And, you don't have to be super conventionally attractive to even be hot. But the sexiness factor is, I think, very important to the success of that movie. And I just don't think Austin Butler has that. Tanya, I did talk about Eugenio Derbez and Selena Gomez. I was shocked to discover that Eugenio Derbez is not a nice man. Gold Searcher says, if Moana 2, Armor Wars, and Mando and Grogu could be Disney Plus series turned theatrical films, why not Tiana? You're not taking it easy, Gold Searcher. Well, I don't know if Armor Wars is ever even going to get made. But I just think that Princess and the Frog just doesn't have the same level of success. I think that it would be very valuable, like Agatha all along was, on the streaming service. Oh, who just gifted all those memberships? Gramos! Wow, thank you. So kind of you. Thank you so much. Oh, look at Mark saying hi to all the Foundation fans. That's very cute. That's a cute way to use your super chat. Mexican 8 Nacho says, hi, Grace. Is Nosferatu the best holiday movie this year? Try to decide on my holiday movie for the theater. I really like it. I don't know if you want to go full horror and goth for Christmas Day, but if you're open to that, I mean, if you're even considering it, you must be cool with it. It's a good movie. I think it's a good movie. I also think A Complete Unknown is a good Christmas movie as well. Kyle, I'm not sure what's going on with Gotham City Sirens for Harley Quinn Season 5. Maybe it's still in there. They just didn't put it in the trailer. That is a weird thing to abandon, but let's just see. Hamish says the new game Marvel Rivals has over 10 million players in a week and feels like there's positivity back in the space. It's making household names out of some of the lesser known heroes. That's great. I'm thrilled for that. That just shows the value of video games, and that's in franchises. Kay Walton's abandoned Twitter. I can't. It's part of my job. Also, what did I tell you? No matter how toxic it gets on Twitter, I'm not getting chased off. Because I said a lot of other actresses shouldn't do that. So I can't be a hypocrite. I said no matter how bad it gets, you can't get pushed out of the space. And so I feel the same way. Ben 10, I don't watch the Actors on Actors thing, but I think it's really grown into a very nice thing for variety. So kudos to them for building that up. Dayton, good luck with your job interview. Or break a leg. Thanks, Psycho. Pang Macaro says, what would you recommend to watch on Christmas Eve? My family watches the same thing every Christmas Eve when we can, and that's Home Alone. It's a tradition. We order a pizza, we watch Home Alone, and we wrap gifts. And I highly recommend that. I think it's a great Christmas Eve movie. I've never even heard of the Phantom Carriage, B. Brown. Thank you, Juan. Stephanie also likes the Tiana ride. That's great. I gotta go on it. Oh, look at Patrick getting a membership. I love it. All right, so I see a lot of people in the chat today, which makes me very happy. So let's end the Q&A, and let me do shout-outs. Let me just try and get as many people in here who aren't doing super chat so I can say hi. Riley, I'm thinking of watching Lioness, but after the holidays. I watch a lot of stuff for work, so it's hard for me. Where are you and what are you doing? Just so I can say hi. Oh, Wanda's attorney. Oh, you're at work, Wanda's attorney. What does Wanda attorney do for a living? That's very interesting. You don't have to tell us, but I think it's an interesting question. Jose says, saying hi from the Philippines. Danny is in Guatemala. It's always nice to see you, Danny. Thank you, Elise. That's very sweet of you. Charlie Michaels is taking a break during the end of finals week while Tyler is in Long Beach waiting for his lunch break. Rashad, it's always so great to hear from you in Las Vegas. I hope your love life's going well. We were on one of Rashad's dates, so that was fun. Jay Garcia, thank you for wishing me well wishes. Let's see here. Hey, Robert Hayes is also listening at work. Linzik says, thank you for toughing it out with us. My pleasure. I'm so glad that it makes me feel so nice to be a part of your day. Hey, Rosho and Sydney. Salmon Hotspot. Oh, it's a rainy night in Barcelona. Oh, that sounds so cozy. ABG is working, framing pictures at work in New Hampshire. Oh, what a cool job. Let's see here. AJ Jones says, we wrap gifts to down Periscope because my husband put it on one year during gift wrapping and I thought it was hilarious. That's so cute. That's such a nice relationship with your husband. RJ says, hey, Grace, I'm going on a cruise tomorrow to the Dominican Republic. Hype indeed. Adam Sphere is snuggling with his dog. Snuggly wuggly. Pumpkin DeShazer is in San Francisco about to see Craven. You're not going to regret it. Have a good time. Get some popcorn, get a big soda, put your feet up. Just be open to it. Noah says, working right now in Claremont, California, while Lisa is fighting allergies on the coldest day in Wisconsin. And it gets pretty cold in Wisconsin. Lucas is in the gym in Brazil. I love it. Elise says, Mary Sinusmus from Tennessee. Is that what you're talking? Sinuses? Is that what you're talking about? Gavin's in Dublin, Ireland. TJ is also sick. I hope you feel better in Atlanta. Kyle Selby's in Los Angeles, also going to the gym. I love that. People go to the gym all over the world. Gabe the Canuck. That's great. It's working from home. And where else? Canada. That's so great. And T.O. Morrow got a gifted membership, or Mr. Tomorrow. Gerardo said, in Houston, my family always abandons me for Christmas and goes to Mexico without you. Aw. Well, Feliz Navidad to you and your family. Ben 10 says, Merry Christmas in French? Joyeux Noël! Yes! Yes, thank you, my education. My mother would be so disappointed in me. Joyeux Noël, Ben 10. Let's see here. Chico is waiting for his personal trainer. That's quite the way to use the gym. I love it. Christian is in my apartment folding clothes. Just finished finals and the semester is over. Woohoo! Yay! And Senior Lullaby, always nice to see you, says, taking lunch and preparing for the game. Oh, that's right. The Game Awards are tonight. Speaking of video games. I didn't know those were tonight. That's a big show. And then Mark Chapman is sitting by the water with a view of the Golden Gate Bridge for lunch. Oh, that sounds very nice, Mark. Sounds like somebody's blue skying. I love to blue sky. All right, everybody. On that note, I got lots of videos to work on later today. Craven spoiler review. Mwah! I love seeing you as always. Thank you for joining me for the live stream. Okay. Bye-bye. Bye-bye-bye.